everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Words of Heart podcast. I am your host, Dionne Sanchez, and joining me today is Walker Brandt. I hope I said that right. Thank you for joining me today, Walker.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here and spend some time with you today.
Awesome. So, Walker, if you could broaden my audience's perspective of you and who you are, that would be great.
Awesome. Well, my name is Walker Brandt. As you expertly said, I have been an actor for about over 25 years. I've done film, TV, thousands of advertising campaigns, dozens and dozens of commercials. And I'm an artist, I'm a writer. I am now a published author. I wrote my first book and released it last year. It's behind me right over there. It's called Awaken, Discovering Yourself Through the Light of Your Innocence. It's a memoir. It took me a long time to be comfortable enough to share my story. I met an amazing lady named Lisa Nichols, who said to me and many others, she's shared this golden nugget of wisdom. Your story doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the person it's going to help. And when she said that to me, it was like getting a kick in the butt. You need to get this out. You need to be courageous. You've been courageous in every other area of your life. You've trusted and you've just gone against, the lack of trust that you've had from what I share in the book, from the childhood I came from, which was a violent alcoholic, abandoned, brutal at times childhood. And I was a runaway at a very young age and emancipated at 16. And I've been on my own since the age of 15. So nobody really knew my story. And then when I became a successful actor and performer, it became even scarier to share my story, because I felt like, oh my gosh, is it going to impact my success? Are people going to look at me differently? And one of the things that a lot of us experience is when we've been through trauma, is feeling ashamed of it, feeling, being under our own judge, our own self-persecution, our own jury on a daily basis. Oh, I can't tell anyone. They're just going to think I'm not able to do what I do. They're going to start thinking that I can't be trusted, even though I've proved that I can be. There's this person in there, that is so afraid, that's kind of been locked into that space of abandonment, that space of trauma. And so given that courage was not unfamiliar to me and taking a risk was not unfamiliar to me, I did. I said, I'm going to do this. And I had written bits of it, but just, I've been writing my whole life, but I haven't. It's been a therapy for me to write. I hadn't really shared any because my writing was where I did my work, personal work. I would talk to God through my writing. It was my spiritual, private place. It was my relationship with God, my personal relationship that Jesus commands us to have. You must have a personal relationship. So God was my father. I didn't have a dad. God was my dad. So I had I wanted to have that relationship very sacred to me, and it is. And but when I was inspired by her to share it because it would help somebody, it was like just a light bulb. I thought, my gosh, this is who I am. I've always wanted to help people. I always do. I always have been that kind of a person and given of myself to others, because it's something that God always put in my heart. But in this way, I wasn't doing it. And I wasn't being self-loving in this way. I didn't realize it was such an aspect of self-love. Was, hey, wait a minute, I chose to come here in this time. I lived this life, and God blessed this because there's something for me to give here. This is going to help somebody. That's kind of what her words were defined inside myself was like, oh my gosh, you have been holding this inside of yourself, thinking that it's something you can't share because of this perspective that you've had that comes from back there. It comes from the experience of what you've been through. It doesn't come from this beautiful canvas that God has created for you. And so that is why I suddenly, like so many other experiences in my life, said, I'm going to write this book. I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to get this done. So I sat down and I wrote for months and I got it done. And then I released it early, and COVID came, and my editor was like, "Oh, we should wait. Everybody's waiting to release their book. They're all going to wait till, let's wait till September. It should be over by then." And I was like, listening very closely to what I should be doing in this whole process, much more clearly listening, really being aware of my voice interfering with God's voice. And I was compelled to release it early. So I released it in March, right after COVID. I said, I'm going to release it now because this is about the unknown. This is about being comfortable with the unknown. This is my journey dealing with the unknown and changing my story based on the recognition that there's more out there for me, no matter what I was going through or what I had been through. That's a perspective that's always behind me. God's gift and perspective is expansive and always in front of me. And if I don't accept that and see that and move towards that, I'm going to limit myself. And I prayed and asked, I said, give me those people in my life. I'm ready to inspire me. Show me those voices. And boom, it was like right away, one thing after another. And Lisa was like the third person that came in, and it was just such an incredible experience. So that is, and now I'm doing a lot of podcasts discussing it and sharing it and just sharing the story. And that's why I loved when I read your podcast. It was podcast guests that I found you. And I thought, this is beautiful because I'm about heart to heart. And I definitely resonated with why you are doing this and what your purpose is and your passion and path and journey. So that's a bit about me.
Thank you. And I truly admire you for leaning into what God is calling you to do. Just to give you a little, obviously you resonate with my podcast, and just to give you a little insight into me, when it comes to changes and chapters and the shifts that have come across in life, I've dealt with quite a lot. Just to give you some history, at the start of the pandemic, I actually got diagnosed with diabetes. So that was a really drastic health change. I didn't foresee happening. But many people in my family saw it as a curse and like, oh, she's already went through so much growing up. Why did this have to happen to her? But I saw it as a blessing in disguise, God's way of giving my life more purpose. I was on the brink of death, literally, and he basically resurrected me with his love and grace and giving me a chance to live my life and continue telling my story. And it was really from that point forward that God really laid on my heart to be a warrior for change. I wasn't exactly sure how he wanted me to do that, and just use the power of your voice for good, be more vocal. And that inevitably led to me having like a heart-to-heart with him the summer of June 2020. And like, God, use me however you want to use me. I don't want to be silent anymore. And that inevitably led to me launching this podcast, which celebrated its 1-year anniversary this past week, or this week, technically. So ever since I launched this podcast and helping others share their stories like yourself, it really helped me realize the depths of my own personal story. That it should be shared. All parts of my personality should be shared. And to give you a full spectrum as to my story and what it embodies. For the first 2 years of my life, I mentioned how I had many health derailments growing up, which is why my family was not so thrilled about me being diagnosed with diabetes, which was in the midst of this pandemic, which didn't make this particular change any easier, but I took it in stride and I'm still here. We're 2 years into this pandemic, which means I'm about to be 2 years into being diabetic. So I'm still here. I'm still breathing. Yay. But for the first 2 years of my life on this earth, I couldn't hear her talk. So,
Wow.
yeah. So
and what was that? What was going on?
What was the medical explanation? They couldn't really define the medical explanation for why that occurred. But pretty much I had a lot of health issues as a result of that. And I mean, hey, I'm talking and I'm breathing, so that didn't last long. And I'm considered the miracle child in my family. But I've been dealt a pretty difficult hand since I was born, pretty much. People learn how to tie their shoes at like 4. I learned at 6. So that had ramifications all throughout my upbringing. Even the doctors told my parents, hey, your child is basically retarded. You might as well dope her up with a lot of medication, because like her involvement is not going anywhere. But that particular chapter since I was born led me to basically overcoming many obstacles, mainly because I had no choice in the matter. But I mean, I could have easily given up, but I didn't. God just was there with me the entire time growing up. And I inevitably proved those doctors wrong when I graduated with high school with like a 3.0 GPA. Basically blowing everybody out of the freaking water because, hey, these doctors already put the label on me that, hey, she's basically dumb and there's no point of her getting any smarter. But I proved them wrong. But that particular story I just shared, I never made it a point to really mention it or make it public knowledge to anyone, yet it's such a fundamental part of who I am. And it wasn't really until I was interviewed by another podcaster called Unmute Your Mic, whose host is Jessica Bell. We were talking about my podcast and why I started it. And I just decided to drop the mic, so to speak, and lay this dynamic bomb on her that, hey, me starting this podcast is pretty symbiotic because podcasting is about projecting your voice and using your voice. And yet for the first 2 years of my life, I couldn't hear her talk. So it's sort of full circle that, hey, I'm talking on this podcast and projecting my voice louder than humanly possible and leaning into the call God's called on my heart. So it was really podcasting that's really giving me a full overall perspective that my story truly does need to be shared. And I don't think I would have come to that realization if I hadn't started this podcast a year ago. So sharing your story, because it can help others. Every part of your story can help others. So I truly admire you for sharing that same visioning and to leaning into what God is calling us to do, which is to help others, really.
Absolutely. You know, I couldn't help when you were telling me that about your first 2 years. I couldn't help in my heart feel that you were listening where you needed to be listening, and you weren't speaking because you were listening. And, you know, great spiritual leaders spend years in silence so they may listen, so that when they do speak, they say something that isn't just for them, but for others. And you started your life that way. I think it's a beautiful thing. I think it's a magical thing because the one you could hear, it's the most important one. You could hear God because God's in here. So you were being cultivated. See, I believe the reason why the subtitle of my book is Discovering Yourself Through the Light of Your Innocence is because I believe when we are children, we come in and we're very close to God at that point. We can choose to stay that way and to remember, because Jesus, his statement to love and care for the children, suffer them, meaning they are meant to be honored and loved and supported. The kingdom belongs to them. The reason it does is because that innocence that we are is God within us. That's how I feel about it. And so we discover ourselves. Sometimes we forget as adults, as time goes on, we take in what our family story is. We take in the environment. We take in the societal stories. And they start to distract us from that beautiful innocence that we are. There's so much noise that takes away from our identity of who we are, why we came, what we're supposed to be here for, what our purpose is. And here you were spending the first 2 years without any of that, which could have been seen as a terrible disability, but I'm seeing it as this beautiful gift right now, because I just see I see your spirit. It's so apparent. You're just beaming with light, and your mom and your family must have just been like, I mean, must have been in love with you. Just absolutely looking at this beautiful baby going, okay, she's not saying anything. She's not hearing anything, but something's going on, because that smile you have and that look in your eyes was still happening. I'm certain of it.
Yes, it's certainly a topic that until I got into podcasting, I never knew the importance of that particular story of my life, because it's literally my testimony into how I got into this world.
Yes.
And I'm being more comfortable and willing to share that and be vulnerable about that particular part of my story on my podcast and any other podcast I come across, because it's important. It's cool.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly why, when I was gathering up the courage to release, I mean, so many people I know, they were like, are you really going to release your memoir? Are you really going to, tell people, what happened? Because only very few people knew what I had been through, because my image is as a professional, was just not that, wasn't, I just didn't discuss it. It was always, the aspirational, and I am that person, but it's like, what made me that person was this story, and I wasn't honoring it in myself. I was buying into feeling badly about it. I was buying into, and in doing that, there's no way that you can judge yourself and not judge others. So I'm judging my family harshly. I'm not giving them a chance to have been through something that caused the pain in them, the choice that they made, the limitations that they saw for themselves. And in doing that, I was limiting myself. I just didn't realize that that's how, that I wasn't clear on that pattern, on that, just on the way that works, the cycle of that, because it's a very quiet thing inside, how we can judge ourselves and think we're not judging others. We do it it's a very tricky area. It can be, camouflaged in so many ways, and it comes back. And when you become self-observing, which has always been my thing, is to observe myself so that I can learn and grow. I'm a personal development junkie in that way. I love to always see how we can continue to evolve and expand into this amazing gift that life is, that we've been given. And so that was something of a motivator, of a gift I was willing to give myself and not deny myself any longer. I was going to receive it, and that's what I did. And waking up to the gift and receiving it is something that can be a challenge at times. The gift of who we came here to be, who we are inside, and all that we've been through. And to recognize, one of the other reasons why I do a lot of podcasts, and I enjoy speaking about it, is I've created a lot of success in my life when I was in those spaces of not feeling really strong mentally, because I was being so controlled about where I came from and so driven about what I wanted to rewrite for myself. That creates a lot of pressure inside. I wanted to share that you can do well and have your stuff. Whatever you may be thinking is a shortcoming or a weakness, you can have them both. You can side by side walk with yourself and say, this is who I am, and I'm seeing this for myself. Let's go. Let's do this. We can do this, and really be that loving parent to yourself. And that's what I did. Is because I didn't experience that kind of support and love as a child, I became my own by the guidance of God. It's God's just ever loving grace, always there, always there. I could always lean toward God's support. I always knew that I was being either scooted, carried, guided, inspired. I had, it's just, I've been so grateful that I asked to have that relationship as a young child. And then I pursued it, and I listened, and I asked for the eyes, the ears. I asked for it, and I listened. And so, and it's a never, ever evolving experience.
Absolutely. I'm loving this conversation so much. We're at the icebreaker portion of this episode, and I can't wait to do it with you because I feel like you're going to be really good at it. So I'll start with the icebreaker question. I feel like you're going to nail this right away because you're already an author. If you had to come up with a title or chapter for where your life is at right now, if you could not mention the awesome title in the background, that would be great. But if you want to, feel free, because after all, you're an author. If you had to come up with a chapter or title for where your life is at right now, what would it be?
I'm thinking expand in service, or service is expansion. That's what I'm experiencing in my life now. Is I am serving in a new way, and it is the most expansive experience I've ever had. So much has changed in my life as a result. So I would, I'm trying to think of a great title, but
I think it's pretty good what you explained and how you explained it. I kind of already gave my title away, but that's the joys of having my own podcast. I can just ramble multiple times on the same topic if I want to. But pretty much my title and or chapter for where my life is at right now is basically being a warrior for change.
Yes.
I've undergone a lot of experiences, which you pretty much got the whole cusp of it in these several minutes of the depth, the degree of my experiences, and they've shaped me into who I am right now. And I think being a warrior really symbolizes and represents all the experiences I've come across and continue to come across, and just represent who I am right now.
Yeah. Well, what's happened in this last year is I've done so much. I've been serving and giving, and that's part of what my book is. And I've been volunteering and working with several different organizations. And I would say service is your expansion, because it really is. It's just been an explosion of expansion within myself. And, it's that evolution that happens. You don't know sometimes where you're going, what is going to be the catalyst, just like your podcast. What is going to be the catalyst for the next direction that your path is going to take? And what is it that you need to overcome to really have solid feet on that path? And that's what's been going on. It's like, wow, I've always been a volunteer and volunteered at different points in my life for longer, more intensely. This year during COVID, it's been such an intense year of volunteering in areas that I didn't realize that I had ability. And it's been this huge discovery. And so in that, it's been expansive. And helping others with what you have is truly, I think, the most beautiful gift you can give. And it begins with your story. It begins with who you are, at the core of who you are, and being okay with it and loving that person so big that you can love no matter what anyone else has to, is whoever they are, has to say. That's what it does. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Let's get to this icebreaker again before I start crying.
I feel the same way.
So this icebreaker game is called Song Association. You don't have to be an avid singer to understand this game, though you're welcome to sing if you'd like. Pretty much how the game works is I give you a word, you can either sing it or rap it. Based off of the word I give you, you either say it in the song title or the word could be in the song lyrics. However, there is a catch. Time is not your friend in this game. You have 15 seconds based off of the word I give you to either sing it, say it, rap it on the song title. It can be a song title or it can be in the lyrics.
Wow.
I told you this would be a fun game.
All right, well, let's give this a shot. Okay, I've got 50, was that 15 seconds? You're going to give me a few words, yes. And it is from a song. It's from a song?
It's from a song that you know. So you have to look into your own brain for the song that you know that embodies the word I give you.
A song that I know that embodies the word. Oh, boy. Oh, this might be challenging. Given I just started hearing lyrics to songs, I've always been a beat girl, hearing the beats and not the lyrics until like about 5 years ago.
It's just 3 words.
Okay, well, we'll give it a shot. You might get this, just so you know. You might get this.
So the first word is heart.
Heart. Oh gosh, I don't even know a song with heart in it. I know there's a lot of them. I feel like there's a song called like "Don't Break My Heart."
There is, but you figured it out when the timer went off.
I told you. Now my husband would be great at this. He wakes up every morning singing a song. And I'm like, what is going on in that brain of yours? It's like you've got this encyclopedia of songs. Oh, goodness. All right. Now I'm sweating. Okay.
The next one I think you can do, I believe in you. The next word is words.
Words. Gosh, words. You know, words rhymes with birds. I'm just going to say, I don't know a song with words. I know they all have words, but I don't know a song that has words in the lyrics. Well, I like the worst of this game.
Give you an answer that many guests have opted to use as their answer for this particular one. And it's a song called More Than Words by the band Extreme.
Okay, I'll take that. More Than Words.
Well, obviously you don't have any points at the moment, but I thought it would help broaden your brain a bit because it's a fun game.
It is. Some
people have trouble.
Yes, because it's like putting my I am the person that this is like, you know, ask me to perform something like charades and give me a word and ask me to perform it, no problem. But ask me to think of a song that is related to it. No, this is really challenging.
So I have the last word, but I feel like I should change it for you and make it difficult.
Oh, great.
But I'm gonna be kind and leave the word as it is. So the last word is change.
Change. I love that. Again, change. I know there's a word, a song called Change. I don't know the song enough to be able to say it, but I know there's a song called Change.
What's probably gonna end up happening is you're probably gonna Google search the words I
Totally.
just gave you.
And and a friend, anybody that I know is going on your podcast, which will no doubt happen. I'm going to say, be prepared for her icebreaker game. She's going to throw 3 words at you. Learn up on your songs.
Well, we can keep talking about songs all day long.
I was hoping you were going to say Imagine, and I was going to go, I love that song by the Beatles. Imagine.
Oh, I should add that as a new word, because here's the thing, the original last word to this was mental, but no one can come up with a song for mental. And then the next one was hope, and yet no one could come up with a song for hope. So I changed the last word to change. And one person managed to come up with a song for that word. I think it's a John Mayer song called Waiting on the World to Change.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. And I couldn't remember the name, but I knew there was this. Yes, it is Waiting on the World to Change.
So perhaps I need to change up one of the words again, but I don't know. But anyhow, we're at the end of this awesome episode. Do you have any social links for my audience where people can find your book? Are you going to end up creating a movie at some point? Give us the inside. I'm like mixing up my words in this episode. The inside scoop to how my audience can get in touch with you.
Yes. Well, they can reach me through my website, which is walkerbrandt.com. And my book is available on Amazon. It's a #1 international bestseller. So it's available in paper softback or whatever you call it, and then a downloadable. If you're a Kindle member, you can, I think, get it for free, which is great. I also would love to do something for you really quick. I'd love to honor you with a blue ribbon. This is a company that I volunteer with the founder. I work with her, and she created this ribbon 40 years ago almost, because she felt people needed to be loved. She went through a trauma herself, and the one thing that she discovered is people need, it's very much our path about voice. And so she downloaded this ribbon in spirit. Do you see what it says? It says, "Who I am makes a difference."
Oh,
yes. And so I'd like to honor you with this ribbon. May I do that?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to virtually give this to you. I'm going to show you how this goes. It's the name of the lady who downloaded this is Graham Sparky Bridges, and her organization is Blue Ribbons Worldwide. So I'd like to honor you with this ribbon, Dionne, because you are inspiring. You are on a mission. You are a warrior for change. Your voice is big, it's beautiful, and it's blessed. And the people you touch, I've watched several of your episodes. I can see it in their faces, the joy you bring. I wish I could see the faces of your audience, because I know you're lighting up the world. That's why you came here. And I'm so grateful to be here sharing this space with you. It's tradition for me to place this above your heart facing up. May I virtually do this for you?
Sure.
All right, so imagine it's being placed right here above your heart. And these are cheerleaders at the end of this ribbon. You place it facing up towards your highest dreams. And the tradition is to take the spark from my heart and place it here into these cheerleaders, into your heart. And the sound that makes dreams come true is bing. That's what she came up with. Bing. That's the spark. So I am placing this on your heart right now, and I am honoring you with this ribbon that says "Who I Am Makes a Difference," because you do. And I'm going to send you a virtual one so you have it in your email as well. Thank you for letting me do that, and thank you for sharing this time with me.
Thank you. Oh, cry right now. To all my listeners, thank you for joining us on this latest episode of the Words of Art podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, if you want to send it, retweet, subscribe, send it to the moon. If you can send it to the moon, please let me know. That would be absolutely awesome if this reaches other galaxies that have yet to be discovered. Either way you share it, please do. You can find us on Facebook at the Words of Heart podcast. You can also find us on YouTube under the same name. And wherever you listen to your podcast, Apple, Spotify, and Google, however you choose to listen to it, please feel free to share it and/or send me your thoughts as to how this episode resonated with you through the following platforms, such as social media: Instagram, HeartWarrior25, or Twitter, HeartWarrior24. However you choose to send your thoughts, please do. Thank you again, Walker Brandt, for joining me on this episode and getting me emotional as I'm wrapping it up.
You're welcome. I hope we'll be friends on Instagram and Facebook. You can find me there too. I would love to know you there.
Absolutely. To all my listeners, stay healthy, stay safe. If you have a story, please don't be afraid to share it. Your story has the depths of helping others, and that's what we're all called to do after all. So stay healthy, stay safe, and until next time, bye.
Bye.